Okay, so now that we understand market structure, right, basic uptrend, downtrend, we now know that in the uptrend, we have a series of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. And then in a downtrend, we have high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. But when it comes to structure, inside of each of those moves, we're going to have market making a different trend. So let's take a look at our uptrend and kind of break that down a little bit. When we look here, we see higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? As this market is moving to the upside. But understand that as price is moving to make these higher lows, right? These are all what we consider pullbacks in the markets, right? Or pullbacks, right? We call these pullbacks. So when we're looking at this type of overall uptrend, we have to understand that each of these pullbacks is going to be a different move. Okay, so as this price is making its overall move right to the upside, this is all price for sure in an uptrend. Okay, then once we start to see these pullbacks or market moving to the downside, right, pulling back to get some momentum, this is going to be what we consider a downtrend inside of our overall uptrend. Okay, so once you start flipping time frames, it's important to really understand those different trends that are happening inside of the overall trend. Right, so we see this pullback is going to be a downtrend. Then as we move to the upside, that's going to be market again pushing in the overall uptrend. Then we get this pullback again, is going to be another downtrend, moving into the overall move, which is going to be an uptrend. And remember from the previous videos, we know that these pullbacks are nothing more than market, moving to gain some momentum before it can now continue moving to the upside. Okay, then we have the same thing as price is moving to the downside, right? We here see market is an overall downtrend, right? But inside of this overall downtrend, market has to move to the upside a couple times in order for it to gain some momentum to keep moving to the downside, right? So we have that here. We see the overall move is moving to the downside. Then we get this pullback here, right? This pullback is going to be market inside of a uptrend, right? It's going to be a smaller move, the overall downtrend. Inside of that overall downtrend, we're going to see market moving to make an uptrend, right? To gain some momentum, and then again, pushing down to continue that overall move. Then again, pulling back to gain some momentum. But this is going to be an uptrend, okay? And then continue to move to the downside. So let's take a look at actual market and look at some examples of that happening. Let's start with our uptrend. Okay, so looking at this move here, we can see this overall move was market moving to the upside, right? And the way we can identify that, right, at its lowest point, price was here, right? Then it pushed all the way up to the highest point that it wanted to go to before coming down, right? It reached its lowest point that it wanted to come to, then it pushed up. Reached its highest point, pushed down, reached its lowest point, and pushed up. Now, excuse me, if I zoom into these zones, we'll be able to see, right, uptrend, downtrend, uptrend, downtrend, uptrend. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Before we do, I'm actually going to just highlight these areas so that when we zoom in, you see exactly what I'm looking at. Okay, so I'm going to make the uptrends green. Okay, and then I'll actually just leave the downtrend not highlighted, right? Because that's going to be our pullbacks inside of the market, okay? So let's go ahead and highlight our uptrends. I want to make sure we get all of this for y'all. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop time frame a little bit, and we'll be able to actually see the higher highs, higher lows being created inside of this market. All right, let's drop to our hour time frame. Let's look at that same exact move that we were just looking at. Okay, starting with the first leg that we saw, right? So here we can see this is all price moving in an uptrend, right? We see low, high, higher low. We can go high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? So all of this was price moving in an uptrend, right? Before it reached its peak. Let's actually make this a different color. Okay, all of this was price moving in an uptrend before it reached its peak or its highest point, right? Which we saw when we zoomed out, which you can see is this blue line here, right? All of that was price moving in an uptrend, right? Or what we consider our impulse move, right? Impulse move. Think of impulse. If you do something impulsively, you do it fast, you do it without really too much thought. It's natural. It happens quickly. Okay, so when we're looking at an overall trend, the impulse move is going to be that bigger move, right? That overall move inside the market. So for an uptrend, right, overall uptrend, which we see here, right, with this blue line, we know market is in an overall uptrend. The impulse move is going to be those buys to the upside, right? It impulsively happened, impulsively happened, impulsively happened, okay? And then let's take a look at these pullbacks inside of the market, right? And remember, these pullbacks are going to be a whole different move, right? These pullbacks are going to be market in a downtrend. Okay, if I zoom in here, we could take a look. Remember, the area that I didn't highlight was that move from price going from its high to its low. Okay, high to low, we're going to have market moving in a downtrend. So we could take a look at this here. We see at its very highest point that market wanted to push to, we have high, low, lower high, lower low. Let's actually extend this. High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, right? Before we start to see again market moving to the upside, right? But understand this is all price in a downtrend, okay? This is all price in a downtrend before what? Market reached its lowest point that it wanted to push to, and now it began to make that move to the upside, right? Or our impulse move. We start to again see market trending to the upside, right? Now falling back in line with our overall move that we saw, right? So again, we'll be seeing what, right? If we know market is now moving in an uptrend, we know an uptrend consists of higher highs and higher lows, right? So we have a low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Well, this is actually a lower low, but another low, and then another high, right? That's all price moving in an uptrend, right? Into the upside, okay? Before it again, let's zoom out, reach this highest point, okay, and want it to come down. Now, when you see me moving out, we can consider this market on our higher time frames, okay? You can consider this our 4-hour time frame, right? Once we start to zoom out, we're seeing more of the chart, more of the bigger picture, right? That's going to be market on our higher time frames. We can even click over to our 4-hour just for the sake of the example, right? So that we can see, remember this blue line was our overall move, right? Low, high, low, high, low, high, right? But overall, this is all market in an uptrend, right? But what we're getting at is that each of these moves from this high to this low is a downtrend. From this high to this low is a downtrend. And then from our low to our high is going to be market in an uptrend. Low to high, market in an uptrend. Low to high, market in an uptrend. right? But let's go ahead and finish breaking down each of these moves inside of here. I'm going to drop back down to our hour time frame. And we're going to take a look and finish that up, okay? Now we see market here going from high to a low, right? We can say high, low, lower high, lower low, before market wanted to come in and now move to the upside, okay? Inside of the upside, we see price now again creating higher highs and higher lows, right? So low, high, higher low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, okay? So that's going to be market moving in an uptrend, okay? And when we are looking at this market moving to the upside, if this is on your hour time frame, depending on if you're day trading, scalping, swing trading, it's going to vary a little bit. But I am a day trader, meaning that I'm looking to take up maybe one position a day. So the overall move that I'm looking for is I want to stay in line with the overall trend, right? So the move that I'm looking to catch is going to be these buys to the upside, okay? These buys to the upside. But let's go ahead and take a look at our downtrend, and I'll cover that concept a little bit more later in this section. Okay, so now here we see, let's go back to our 4-hour time frame, and we could take a look at our overall move in the market, right? Just highlighting our lowest point that price wanted to go to, then boom, push to its highest point that it wanted to go to, lowest point, highest point, lowest point, highest point, lowest point, okay? So we know that overall this move was to the downside, okay? Overall this trend was moving to the downside, but again, right, each of these moves in between from high to low is going to be price moving down. From low to high, right, is going to be that pullback or market trending to the upside, okay? Here what we want to pay attention to is going to be this downtrend, right? This overall impulse move to the downside. And I'm actually just going to make this red so we know that this is market selling. Okay, same thing here, reach this high. High. Started trending down. All right, so now what we see here is going to be all the area that market was trending down, and then the areas that I don't have highlighted is going to be that pullback, right, or market trending to the upside. Let's go ahead, drop time frames, and take a look at this move on our lower time frames and highlight each move inside of here. Okay, so now we see all of this move, right, from this high to this low, right, the lowest point that market wanted to go on that higher time frame, is all price trending to the downside. Okay, so we can come in here, mark this in, high, low, lower high, lower low. We could say lower high, low, high, lower low. Okay, so this is not our typical downtrend, right? Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower low. But this is still considered an uptrend because remember the structure of our this is still a downtrend, right? Because the structure of our downtrend, as long as we're not breaking our highs, we're still in a downtrend, right? So all of this was price moving to the downside. From this high to this low was all price moving to the downside. Let's take a look at this pullback move that happened here. Right now we have price reach its lowest point that it wanted to go to, and now we start seeing it do that pullback, right, or up trending. Let's take a look at that uptrend. Okay, inside of this uptrend, we can see low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right, before price reached its highest point, right, which we can see here, which we highlighted in our higher time frame, right? But all of this from this low to this high was market moving in an uptrend, okay, or that pullback. Again, we see price reach its highest point that it wanted to go to before it started to sell off, right, creating that impulse downtrend move. Let's take a look. Here we see high, low, lower high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, high, low, lower high, lower low. Okay, all of that is going to be price trending down till it reached its lowest point. And then we see again price now trending to the upside, creating a series of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, high. Okay, before again it reaches its highest point. So the main thing that you want to take from here, right, is that each of these moves is going to be a different trend. Okay, we can take a look back at what we were looking at originally, right, and we know that each of these moves is going to be market creating a different trend inside of our overall market, right? So we know that when we see market moving in an overall uptrend, right? Let's just get this under control. So I don't know what's happening, right? But we know that when we see market in an overall uptrend, we know that we're also going to see, small moves to the downside, okay? And then when we see market in a downtrend, we're also going to see small moves to the upside. All right, so that is market structure and understanding that each move is going to consist of smaller moves inside of it. I hope y'all understood this. If not, make sure y'all go back and watch this video over, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.